Thank you everyone for joining us. Welcome to our first annual conference of Heritage Society entitled Global Heritage Conclave 2022, being organized by Heritage Society in collaboration with Siddharth University Kapilvastu and CCRT New Delhi Ministry of Culture. I welcome all the participants and I welcome our distinguished chairperson, sir, Professor Deanbandhu Pandey, sir, who is available with us at this moment. Professor Deanbandhu Pandey, sir, is a distinguished historian who has excelled in his field and has immense contribution in his field. We are truly honored to have him with us here. I request all the presenters to kindly switch on their camera since our presentation is will begin very soon. May I now, seeking permission from our chairperson, sir, may I request our first presenter, Lee Lin Chuang, to kindly begin his session. Lee is currently a PhD scholar at Nalanda University, Rajgir, and Lee is from Vietnam. Lee, please kindly begin your presentation. Thank
Yes,
you.
good morning, sir, and my best friend. Uh, can I present my work to both of you, to everyone? Yes. My topic is the study on the spiritual activities of Tibetan Buddhism of the Bodh Gaya, and the history of the Tibetan is almost very important of the Buddhism. Otherwise, the Tantric Buddhism is very popular in there, and nowadays on the world you know the Tibetan follow the Tantric Buddhism and how the Tibetan accept the Tantric Buddhism, not the other tradition like Theravada or Mahayana. And the history of the Tibet has been worked in work history when the Tibetan Empire expanded its nation throughout larger part of the Central Asia during the early 7th century. During the early 7th century, the Greek Empire Songtsen Gampo, the son of the Nari Longtsen, began cherry the conquest some country around the expansion his land to east, west, and the Central Asia, like Kingdom of Yanjun in the west, Nepal, and Tujunhun in the Chinese. And he had married with the Chinese princess Quen Chen Gonju. The after that the princess bring the some material of the Buddhism follow her, and that the very important for Buddhist Tibetan Buddhism. And before the Buddhism reached to the Tibet, there were the local religious tradition which were called a Bon religion. And the Bon religion, they have three primary reference in contemporary scholarship as the religious tradition of the Tibet prior to the importance of the Buddhism. The Buddhism have been influenced in the Rosa Empire and built some monasteries in Lhasa, which is special Samyen monastery, which were founded by the King Tri Songtsen. Inside the Samyen monastery, had mentioned a stone inscription of the temple Tri Song Den Chen, which is the earliest the Tibetan language record related to Buddhism. This text also told us that the temple Tri Song Den Chen become a Buddhist spot. And from the 8th century, the Tibetan Empire will not only made a good relationship with the Tang dynasty, but also have included by the Chinese Buddhism. But unfortunately, there were a proof of the failure of the teaching of Buddhism to Tibetan with the Chinese monk who were called the Mahayana. There were reasons of the failure when the Chinese monk preached in the Tibet, like at the time of King Tri Song XIII, but he supported the Indian Buddhism, in Indian monk. The Tibetan believed that Buddhism arose from the Indian, and the teaching of the Chinese monk did not get the conformity with the temple or the Tibetan. That's why they choose the Buddhist, the monk who come from India, because they believe that India is the birthplace of the Buddhism. Then he believed that, and they also believe that the Bodhgaya is very important place for them, and the Bodhgaya is also the holy place. They wish
Please,
to, yes, sir.
I would like to interrupt you here.
Yes, sir.
There a question arises. You have explained that Mahayan, Hinayan, these were the two fractions of the early Hinaya.
Yes, sir.
So now you are talking about the religions in countries, but you are saying that the Tibetan Buddhism is a secondary or somewhat new religion out of these two, leaving these two rather. And then you are coming to Indian Buddhism and monks of India and all those, and whatever, some suppose Japan. So, what is the basic difference of Tibetan Buddhism? I think that is your main point to be discussed. So, what is the
Uh,
main point to bifurcate Tibetan Buddhism from the early these two, Hinayan and Mahayan? What is the basic? Do
yes, sir. The
you
basic,
understand?
the
Yes.
basic, the different, the tradition of Buddhism, like Mahayana, Theravada, and Mahayana,
Yes,
and
that is
the
same.
next, the next say maybe the Yogacara, and the different is the Theravada is to follow
This
the,
Yogacara is not the religion.
sorry, sir.
Tibetan Buddhist या Buddhism तो नहीं कह सकते. That is not
Yeah,
the religion. Yogachar is not the religion. It is the achar.
Yes.
working of religion, practicing religion.
Yes.
So
It's
you have
not.
to explain these things.
Yes.
If it is not explained, your paper will not be considered a research paper.
Yes, sir.
That will be just a discussion. And here on global horizon,
Uh,
we
it's,
would like to present such things, not just now, but even up to the time you have the time up to its publication,
yes,
so
sir.
that if it is published for universal profit,
Keeping
that will be the one standard that has to
yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
maintained.
I understand the word, your point, but I would like to introduce how to Buddhism preach to the Tibetan, and the Tibetan accept the Buddhism, and what kind of what the tradition of the Buddhism they practice and they follow,
I
sir.
think you are not getting my point. You are not getting my point. Let us discuss. It is nice to discuss.
Yes,
You
sir.
see, after Mahayana,
Yes,
there is Tantraya,
yes,
and the whole Tibetan is a variety of Tantrayan. That is also not the true Tantrayan which was prevalent in Magad. So it is a variety of Tantrayan. So how could we call it a religion? This is my point. This I want to be discussed. How could you relate it with a religion? It is a sort of religion, a line of religion leading towards to either Mahayana, either Hinayan. So
yes,
do you agree to it?
yes.
And if you agree, you have to rewrite your paper with these notions.
Yes, sir.
Do you,
Yeah, thank you,
do
sir.
you
And
understand?
I got your point,
Ah,
and yes,
yes.
I got your point. But uh, this I yes, I just introduced that, but I know how to the what section of the what the Buddhist said in the
No,
Hinayana,
no,
what
you
the
are just
Buddhist
you are
rule.
just describing what is going on nowadays
Yes,
in India, in Tibet, in
yes,
Japan, in Ceylon.
yes,
You are
yes,
just
yes,
describing all these things, what is going on. That is not the research. That is
yeah,
not the part of the research. So kindly do it. You have time. We will have much time for its publication. And if it
yes,
is finally approved for publication, it will be included. Isn't?
yes, 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 yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for presenting your paper. And we will move to the next.
Thank you, sir. I will. I just sir. Thank you, sir, and thank you, everyone. I will improve the my paper. Follow your opinions, and your exert me to correct my paper for more interesting the paper.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I
Very
know,
thank
sir.
you.
Yes. Yes, thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone. Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Who is the next list भाई दोगे हाँ मैं मालूम नहीं कौन किसका हाँ
यही तो कोई लिस्ट बता दे वो उसी का लो
कहाँ है
नहीं वो उनको प्रेजेंट करा दिएगा
अच्छा
ये तो
भाई तो लिस्ट तो मालूम होना चाहिए
ये जो
Now, sorry.
इसका ध्यान रखो
What's your topic?
It's not mine, pretty. Pretty sorry.
सिस्टम का भी साउंड
May I start?
सिस्टम का साउंड ऑफ करो ना। ये बातचीत तो करनी पड़ेगी ना बीच में।
May I start, sir?
अपना आप ऑफ करिए
अपना माइक ऑफ करो।
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
welcome.
you can start.
Yes, welcome. Please,
Good morning,
please
sir.
proceed. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. This is Preeti Swaraj, PhD scholar at Nalanda Mahavihar. Before I start, I would like to thank Heritage Society to giving me this platform. I am really very happy for this. Such a day, I'm going to talk about an iconography of Avalokiteshvara, basically presented in Patna and Bihar Museum. This paper is very important and near to my heart because I have worked very hard for this paper. So,
Very
I'm
hard.
going to discuss about Avalokiteshvara. I want to share my screen.
Yeah.
वेलकम
Welcome. आवाज नहीं जा रही।
धर्मरत्न सर, क्या आप शेयर कर सकते हैं? आपको मैंने भेजा है शायद। आजाद सर को भेजा है मैंने।
हाँ। PPT शेयर करना है। Oh, okay.
Yes, sir.
I'm
I
arranging.
want to share my PPT.
I'm just arranging. Wait.
पटना से
पटना म्यूजियम से जो मूर्तियां हैं अवलोकितेश्वर की।
Yes, sir.
So you are from Nalanda Mahavihar,
Yes, sir.
deemed university?
Deemed to be university. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Who is the vice chancellor there?
Badnath, sir. Dr. Badnath Lav.
Yes. He is my friend.
Okay.
Nice to welcome a student from that. And the founder of that, Professor Jagdish Kashyap ji,
Yes. Okay.
I have been with him
Oh, it's my pleasure to meet you, sir.
in Sarnath in my early career. The great scholar.
Yeah.
Do you know what is the most prominent contribution of Bhikshu Jagdish Kashyap?
Sorry, sir.
And you should know. Pali Dhamma Mahannava. Pali Shabd Mahannava. Pali शब्दों का महारणव.
Okay.
Do you know महारणव?
No, sir. I'm not aware about it.
Oh, you must know it. The Pali people, the Sanskrit people, if they do not know these words, how the research will flow and flourish? You see? Maharno means Maha Aranav. Maha means biggest.
Yes.
Aranav means the sea, Samudra.
Okay.
पाली शब्दों का समुद्र है वो. That is the most important contribution of Bhikshu Jagdish Kashyap, along with so many things.
प्रीति जी, आप पावर पॉइंट प्रेजेंटेशन करने के लिए आप शेयर स्क्रीन ऑप्शन पे क्लिक करेंगे. शेयर नीचे में बटन होगी.
हाँ, तो शेयर पे it's showing slides and video file.
हाँ, उसके नीचे शेयर स्क्रीन ऑप्शन एक लिखी हुई है, शेयर स्क्रीन, उस पर क्लिक करेंगे। हाँ, शेयर स्क्रीन पे क्लिक करने के बाद आप एक पॉपअप विंडो ओपन होगी, उसमें एंटायर स्क्रीन ऑप्शन पे क्लिक करेंगे, बीच में जो विंडो दिख रही है उस पे क्लिक करेंगे और शेयर बटन एक्टिव हो जाएगी, उस पे क्लिक
Okay,
करेंगे।
sir. I understood.
हाँ हाँ।
I'm sorry.
Now you great, wonderful. We are
Is
able to
it
see your
is
screen.
it visible?
Your screen is visible.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So I'm talking about Avalokiteswara. The idea of Avalokiteswara. The idea of Avalokiteswara begins in Mahayana. And when we see Avalokiteswara, it is basically a Sanskrit word which have different interprets. It means that Ava means, we can conclude Ava means who looks down. Lok means to notice or to observe. And Iswara means the Lord or the Master. And thus the combination of these words means the one who hears the cries of the world. Or we can say that the Lord who looks down, and or the Lord who looks in every direction.
चश्मा हमारा काम नहीं कर रहा है, इसे फुल स्क्रीन करना है।
This is an image of Amitabha.
फुल स्क्रीन करिए इसको।
Sorry, sir.
नहीं
No, go on. Please, go on.
This is a figure of Dhyani Buddha Amitabha, who is a spiritual father of Avalokitesvara. According to a legend about Avalokitesvara, when he firstly heard the cries or the suffering presented in this world, then it was so painful for him. And with this extreme pain, his head got burst. Then Amitabha come forward, because Amitabha is a spiritual father of Avalokitesvara. Then he come forward and rejoined the busted, splitted heads of Avalokitesvara into lastly 11 head, and also gifted him 100 arms by which he can easily solve all the suffering. In the eyes of iconography, there are more than 30 forms can be seen in the art of Buddhism, Buddhist sculptures of Avalokitesvara. And all these forms are distinguished by the number of their heads, their arms, the gesture of sitting, or by the carrying, etc. And all these symbols have a specific meaning, as when we see the multiple head and the arms of Avalokitesvara, it indicates his limitless capacity to perceive suffering and for the help of all creatures who needs. I have some pictures from Bihar Museum. This is six-armed Lokeswara, which is presently in Bihar Museum, and it was recovered from Kurkihar. In this image, we can see the splitted. This sculpture is laterally brushed. In this stone sculpture, we can see the six arm of Avalokitesvara, and in this figure, Avalokitesvara is seated with the left leg tucked on a double lotus pedestal. His upper right hand is holding a rosary. Lower two hand is in Abhay Mudra and Varda Mudra. Whereas when we see the left hand, the upper left hand is holding a book. Kamandalu is in middle hand, and a flower stalk in lower hand. As per the principal iconography of Avalokitesvara, Amitabha appears in his head, and in his Jata Mukuta or head. Actually, we can divide all these iconographic features on the two parts, as the principal characters and the secondary characters of Avalokitesvara images. When we consider the primary characteristic or principal characteristic, the presence of Avalokitesvara father, the Dhyani Buddha Amitabha, in his crown or in Jata Mukuta of Avalokitesvara. His body color will be white, and he must be a barefoot. Whereas when we consider the secondary characteristic of Avalokitesvara, then the image of Avalokitesvara in Bihar, basically in Bihar, we found a long wavy hair or even tied in a bun. Whereas we found a tradition of a straight hair in an Asian images. So we can differentiate here both these cultures.
Please,
And
please. I would like to interrupt you here. Later on, you will continue. The first thing that we are discussing for the purposes with some notions, some ideas to be cleared. So, since we are not in front, many people are sitting here and there. So in meantime, I will be questioning you somewhere here or there. First thing is that you explain that seeing the cries or hearing the cries of world, Avalokiteshwar, what he did, he became pity. दयावान हो गए वो. So how far do you, as a researcher, consider this statement? Because this explains why there is a need of Avalokiteshwar, a new god in the pantheon.
yes, sir, this may be considered as the new pantheon, a new god in the Mahayan pantheon, because
Yes,
it
yes.
can be divided into two parts. And iconographical features is just a different
No,
thing.
that you have already told. That you have already told. I am putting a question that how it would have happened, or what is the reference for this, that such and such stage was in society and a god was necessary in the pantheon. Have you considered this focal point?
Yes, sir, we can
Because the
consider this.
iconography, we know there are many books, and B.C. Bhattacharya has written the Buddhist iconography. That's very well. Have you considered this, what I have just explained to you?
Yes, sir, obviously.
What was the need of considering a new god?
New god. Okay. Actually, we can when we see in Hinduism, there were so many gods and
No,
deities,
not in Hindu.
goddess.
Leave Hindu. You are discussing the Buddhist.
Okay, sir. Okay,
Don't
sir.
go to Hindus.
Actually, sir, when our
तंत्रयान में
society.
चले जाएंगे तो बहुत गड़बड़ होगा वो. बौद्ध
Okay,
तंत्रयान
sir.
और
I
हिंदू
will not go there.
तंत्रयान बहुत डिफरेंट है.
Sir, I would like to explain like this. In Buddhism,
Yes.
when Mahayan Buddhism comes, it takes a special need, because we know Hinayan is basically Buddhism is in Hinayan. Mahayan is a need of our society. We live in society, and our mentality and our routine are like not Hinayan, not basically totally based on Hinayan. So it's a Mahayan is a need of our society based routine.
How? That is, you explain it. How it was a need? What
Because
for it
from
was a need?
childhood, from the beginning, we used to pray. We used to pray in front of any statue, or in deep vandana.
Okay. This is the focal point. This is the focal point which you have uttered. Now, let us go to the point where there was a statue. Do you have any evidence before Mahayan a statue to be worshipped?
No, sir. No, sir.
Then then how the society will say
Surya
that
Vandana says, Surya Vandana, Ganga Vandana, we are used to pray like this.
how you used to pay.
Uh,
You be in your expression, you must be very expressive. How it was used? Used to pay means it was continuing.
yes,
A, a, image worship was continuing, and we don't find an image prior to Mayan. So your whole theory will collapse. So you have to answer these things for a research.
uh,
Yeah.
this
We
time I'm
don't
not.
need here because everyone has seen the books on iconography and these images. If there is any image which is not published, that you can show. Otherwise, we will discuss like this. What was the problem? Why it upsurged? Why it was so much followed? It's very strange that Avalokiteshwar is the most popular deity in Mahayan Buddhism and especially in the Tantric Buddhism. Why it happened?
So it's a big question, and this time I'm not in the position to answer this question.
Yeah, yes, yes.
I
But you have
really
to
don't
think,
know
you
clear.
have to
I'm not
ponder
clear.
over it. Yeah, you have to ponder over it. You try to explain these things in your paper.
Okay.
Huh? Because if you say that they were used to worship, then there is always a question. And if you don't answer that question, if they were used to do and no worship was done for an image because no image is found, so how could you propose anything?
Yes, sir.
So have you found any new variety of or any new upcoming image in the museum?
No, sir. Not this time. I'm not. I, I didn't
Yeah.
find any image, new
So
image.
the
I
whole
didn't
thing
find.
is done. I think there is no need of
Yes.
just carrying this. Stella Cramrish has done the catalog of the Patna Museum. Then again, Parmarshi Lal Gupta has done it. And before these two, B.C. Bhattacharya has already written the Buddhist iconography,
Yes,
especially
sir.
the this Mahayan iconography. And the Dhaka Museum has done the best work, earliest, the catalogue of Dhaka Museum. Have you consulted?
No, sir. I basically consult Bihar Museum and Patna Museum catalog, and I um, I write this paper on the base of Patna Museum catalog, edited by Nazim Akhtar. That was my
Yes.
primary source.
Uh, so there you will get nothing new. You will be just repeating the things. But whatever it
Yes,
is, you have done well. You have given many images to your notice. But if you have noted these points, which we have discussed just now, and will include in the paper, your
yes.
paper will be excellent one.
So I
Otherwise,
have one question.
otherwise the paper will be a flop paper.
She has a question, please.
Yes, question. Do you have a question?
Yes, sir. I
Yeah.
have a question. So my
Yes, sir.
research area is basically based on Bihar.
Yes,
So
no
mm,
problem.
then it is beneficial for me that I have to consult Dhaka Museum or any other museum which is not belongs into Bihar, not placed in Bihar.
Bihar, at that time, Bihar was belonging to Bengal,
Yes, sir.
and
That's
Dhaka
true.
was also in Bengal.
Yeah, very good.
Yes.
And they all the sculptures,
Yes.
especially the Mahayana sculptures, either in Bengal, either in Bihar, most probably in Odisha, and in UP, all are the same. All are the same. So you
All are
have to
same.
discuss. You have to discuss all these things, but for discussing the images, you will be giving the examples of Bihar only. Otherwise, you have to do all these things.
Okay,
And
sir.
don't afraid of it.
No, I'm not
Yes.
afraid. I'm little afraid. Not too much, but you are too much senior, and I am recently a student, a very young
No, no, it
student.
doesn't
So I
mean
am.
researcher is a researcher. No, 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 not like that. I'm not very senior. If I do research, then I am senior. You are doing research, you are equal to me. Research is the basic. As I ask you, what is the basic question to bifurcate the Mahayana and Hinayan? What is that? I ask you. So that is,
He,
you are a researcher, I am also a researcher. There are so many researchers on the
yes.
same platform. None is higher, none is lower. Thank you very much. Next one.
Oh, thank you so much. It's
Okay.
pronounced.
Yes, sir, invited the platform. Formally invited the platform.
Very good. Hey, welcome.
Okay, now I
Yes,
would like
you
to invite
start,
Dhanuratna
please.
for the next presentation.
Please.
Please continue.
It's okay.
Don't show on the.
Okay.
No, okay.
So you please go on.
Okay. Namo Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Respected Chairperson, the delegate from the different part of the India. Myself, I am Dhammaratna, research scholar student from Nalanda Mahavihara, Department of Tibetan Studies. Today my topic is the Buddhism, universal respect for human dignity. So the importance of the Buddhism as a religion lies parliamentary is not concept, kindness, humanity, and equality. Buddhism, no advantage phenomenon, it arose out of the background of the Vedic sacrifice and the philosophical specular current before and up to the Buddha own time. The story of his life and teaching, according to the older Pali text, place more reliance of his humanity than on his divinity. His teaching can be described briefly as the abstention from evil, the accumulation of whatever the good and noble, the purification of the mind, his belief in karma of the special psychological significance in much as its attribute greater importance to personal action than to lineage. The clear objective is to understand the Four Noble Truths, that is the basic education of the Buddha. Accordingly, for it or not, the Four Noble Truths are the fundamental element of the Buddhism, which is teaches by the Buddha originally. The Buddha focused his attention on the Buddha placing himself in a subordinate position.
Yeah. Okay. I'm interrupting you here when you are discussing the caste system, and you are saying that Buddha has said like this. Is there any reference of it? you are discussing the caste system in society and giving a reference that Buddha has said it.
Buddha didn't say that there is many castes, but he said, okay. Buddha said that every man in this world is all equal. There is no, the people was not divided
Yes,
by the caste system.
yes, quite correct.
Yeah, the people is divided by the knowledge. Who have the supreme knowledge? He is the top in the top position at the Buddha time. He said like that. He didn't divide the people with the caste system. He say every man are equal, even woman, everything's are equal.
Do you mean that Buddha has not said for the Brahman, Kshatriya, etc., etc.? Rather, all people are equal.
All are equal.
Equal.
Yeah.
And then how the differentiation of the workings of people?
Working of the people divided with
Whether
the
it is
not,
whether it is mentioned by Buddha?
not mentioned like that. This is actually at the ancient time there is only the 4 caste system remain.
Yeah.
I think like Brahman, Kshatriya, Shudra, and
सुन रहे हैं वहां से भी बात है. हाँ, yes,
yeah. So
yes.
there is the 4 caste at the Buddha time, and before the Buddha time is already exist in at that time.
What is the reference?
Sorry,
बुद्ध वचन क्या है इसका?
Buddha
बुद्ध वचन कहाँ है?
ने कहा कि सभी लोग
In which work, in which book, in which Nikaya?
Nikaya.
Yes.
You are talking about the which books? Reference.
बुद्ध ने कहा है reference. What is the reference that Buddha has said all are equal?
Yeah. You are asking about the reference.
Yes.
We get the like actually I read mostly and Abhidhamma from the Myanmar.
Abhidhamma is not by
Sorry?
Buddha. Abhidhamma is a later work.
Literature, but there is some monks like very higher. They get the supreme in the Myanmar like the.
No.
So
Where
they
Buddha
mention.
has said.
Sorry.
You are quoting the Lord Buddha.
Yeah.
आप भगवान बुद्ध को बता रहे हैं कि उन्होंने ऐसा कहा, तो बुद्ध के कहने का वचन जो भी होगा वो हीनयान की पुस्तक में होगा, और हीनयान की पुस्तक में यदि नहीं है तो हम नहीं कह सकते कि बुद्ध ने ऐसा कहा. Be very sure of it for research. In this research paper, if you say that it is in the Abhidhamma or it is in the Abhidhamma Kosh, that will be very, very wrong. And nobody will hear and nobody will quote you. Neither your paper will be any place and any place. So be very, very, very cautious in using the terminology from the Buddhist sources and referring to it. And if you have not given any reference to
No, I have the reference. I have whatever I get.
Not valid reference, please. A Hinayani reference is the valid for saying of a Buddha.
Yeah.
Of saying of a Buddha. Other Buddha may say, Amitabh may say, but Buddha will not say the other one. Amitabh Buddha is after in philosophy.
That is in philosophy and
He is earlier.
yeah.
In philosophy, a philosophy which was scattered later on. When Lord Buddha has gone, he has achieved the Mahaparinirvana. Then we were talking about the Buddhist religion. Buddhism. At the time of Buddha, there was no Buddhism at all.
Yeah.
Do you agree with him?
Yeah. Yeah.
Very nice. He always say, "Esha dhammo sanantana." ये बुद्ध वचन है। अनेक जगहों पर हीनयान की पुस्तकों में ये उन्होंने कहा है और श्रमणों को ये बात कही है कि करुणा करो, दया करो, क्षमा करो, आदि आदि। And at the last he says, always says, "एष धम्मो सनातनः." ये सनातन धर्म है, धर्म की तो बात नहीं करते हैं। ब्राह्मण धर्म की बात करते हैं, जिसका वो विरोध है। लेकिन विरोध अपने धर्म के लिए नहीं कर रहे हैं। लेकिन बड़ा बहुत ही पेचीदा सवाल है। धर्म अपने धर्म के लिए नहीं विरोध करते, सनातन धर्म की रक्षा हो इसके लिए विरोध। और वर्तमान काल में इसके लिए जो कार्य किया उनका नाम है महामना पंडित मदन मोहन मालवीय, जिन्होंने सनातन धर्म उन्होंने हिंदू धर्म के लिए काम किया, बौद्ध धर्म के लिए नहीं किया, जैन धर्म के लिए नहीं किया, सनातन धर्म। So why researching and choosing a topic? We will छोटा विषय है और उसकी गहनता में इतना जाएगी कि किताब बन जाए, तब तो रिसर्च। Otherwise, just a paper, as we are saying, I am presenting a paper. I am also presenting a paper. This is the way. So, try to be referential. जो कहें reference or reference to the point. Would you like to continue?
I will conclude. Okay. I would like to go for the conclusion. The starting point is the Buddhism is the value and the city of life. The Buddha future view is individual. The starting point for Buddhism is the value and the city of life. The Buddhism further view each individual life as a manifestation of a universal life, peace of human dignity. Again, the Buddha felt the necessity of the changing the mental attitude of the human being with the equal thoughts for the belonging to all caste, creed, race by fellow feeling brotherhood to each other, considering the whole world as saying unity of a family. Man has been the central problem of the Buddhist philosophy. The Buddha did not want to assume the existence of any metaphysical substance. He adopted a dynamic conception of reality. Life is nothing but the series of manifestation of generation of the extinction. It is a stream of becoming and change. The Buddhism understanding of the human dignity is rooted in the idea of that we are able to choose the path of self-perfection. Example, a condition of fully developed courage, wisdom, and compassion. Thus, the ideal of the human being as an active agent compassion can be found in the nearly Buddhist view of humanity seen from the social thought perspective. Furthermore, Buddha placed almost a trust in his fellow human beings with their potential for actively putting the law of compassion into practice, and devoted his entire life to encouraging people throughout India to engage themselves in a similar fashion through self-discipline and respect for life. So, human being fought two world wars in the 20th century. Hundreds of millions of the people experienced hellish suffering if we found that we arrive at the inevitable conclusion that human beings themselves must change, that we must transform ourselves into beings of compassion. Buddhism encourages us to draw the lesson and strength from the challenge we have met in life so that we can achieve personal happiness and while inspiring courage in those around and in the society.
So we have discussed much, and please keep in mind whatever we have.
Yes, sir.
And
Because
what
the
is
Buddha
needed.
teaching is not for the teaching of the religion.
Yes.
He is teaching for the whole humanism.
Yeah. Next.
Next presenter.
Huh?
Next presenter is Azad Gulshan Nanda. Please continue.
Please.
Thank you, sir. First of all, I'm extremely thankful to our honorable chairperson, sir, the organizing committees for providing me this wonderful opportunity to present my paper on this great occasion. My paper is on exploring the cause for the establishment of Nalanda Mahavihara in Badgaon, a historical geographic perspective. In this paper, I will be basically looking on why Nalanda Mahavihara as an institution emerged up in a geographical location of Badgaon, which is quite far away from Rajagriha, from Patliputra, and from Bodh Gaya. As Nalanda is more often, it is imagined as a Buddhist university, as a Buddhist institution that emerged up in the 4th century CE during the Gupta period, and then went into a different phases of expansion, followed with a decline in the 12th century CE. So Nalanda Mahavihara emerged as a monastic institution of higher learning in ancient India. It was established by the Gupta ruler Kumargupta, and the institution received such a fame that a large number of people, ritual masters, students from far off places like Sumatra, Indonesia, Central Asia, Armenia, and other places came up. This cosmopolitan, ethnic, and cultural assemblies accorded Nalanda cosmopolitan outlook. And Nalanda, by the time of 8th century, it emerged as an idiom which was taken up by the ritual masters over the trade routes of maritime activities, and they gained fame and success over different parts of Southeast Asia. But a very prominent question comes up: why Nalanda was established in Badgaon and not at Rajagriha or Bodh Gaya or Patliputra if it was to be meant as a Buddhist institution? Because if we look back, Rajagriha was a place which was greatly associated with the life events of Buddha. Buddha has spent much of his time in there. Bodh Gaya was a place of enlightenment, while Patliputra, which was also located very nearby, was a center of a political seat of kingdom. Patliputra was in fact a powerful seat of empire during the 4th century CE. So for any institution which needs to see a successive expansion and growth for successive ages, it needs certain resources in terms of politics, in terms of patronage, in terms of local resources. It needs networks, it needs human resource, many of such things. And when we look back into the history, Nalanda was not as prosperous as compared to these three cities which were located in a very close vicinity of Nalanda. Nalanda, as we look before, Nalanda was a place which was a suburb of Rajagriha. So in fact, Rajagriha was more prosperous than Nalanda, while Bodh Gaya was both Gaya and Gaya was already a city from very ancient time and a powerful seat uh, religion from long back. So, so when we look into the text, religious text and Buddhist text, we find that Nalanda was not was just a suburb in ancient time and was not a prosperous city when Nalanda was established itself. Nalanda Mahavihara was established itself. So to look for this for this cause for the establishment of Nalanda in Bargaon, I have took a geospatial studies of the region which are located in the area, and I've looked upon the trade activities, trade routes, and uh, the settlement pattern in the region.
Please re-explain what was the reason for establishing a new.
Yes, sir. So most of the scholars so far have explained the cause for the establishment based on the religious reason, religious cause. One of the cause that has been frequently referred by most of the scholars is that there was a visit of Nalanda by Buddha in Pavarika Ambavana, which was located somewhere close to Nalanda. However, the location of Pavarika Ambavana has not been verified so far. The other group of scholars have called upon the reason that Nalanda was in fact the birthplace of Sariputta and Mahamudgayan, and the Nirvana place of Sariputta. So this has been imagined as the possible cause for the establishment of Nalanda Mahavihara in the region of Bargaon. However, this doesn't attest the main cause. If an institution has to be set up on the name of religion, there is what interest or what kind of incentive this would have brought for a ruler who is setting up an institution in a far off location from any prosperous city which is located nearby, and even if it has to be established for the religious cause, there was much proper reason to establish it in the region of Rajgriha, Bodhgaya, or Patliputra, which was already a place closely associated with the life events of Buddha. So,
Please, you see, you are discussing the other places of highly developed and highly having the importance in religion. If we discuss Nalanda, the situation or its establishment is not for religion. It was a study place, teaching, developing the religious process in people.
yes.
So, why to compare Nalanda with Rajgir, Bodhgaya, or any other place? Is it there any need for this comparison?
The basic question arises here that the Nalanda emerged as an institution.
And that even in the time of Kumar,
Yes.
1,000 years away from Buddha.
So Nalanda operated on a very grand scale. It was a huge structure that was built up and expanded for a very long time. It needs resources like students and ritual masters from different parts of world. So to set up an institution and for the sustained expansion for for more than 800 years of expansion.
That is all right. Whatever you say, whatever you are presenting, and whatever has been presented.
Yes. So
What was the need of a teaching or learning place to be founded in the time of Kumar? 1,000 years after Buddha. बुद्ध के समय में हमें जहाँ तक ध्यान है कोई शिक्षा केंद्र नहीं हुआ था तैयार। ऐसे तो हर महाविहार, एनी मोनास्ट्री इज ए प्लेस ऑफ लर्निंग, लेकिन नालंदा इतना बड़ा विश्वविद्यालय, आज हम लोग विश्वविद्यालय कहते हैं, उसमें तो महाविहार ही कहते थे, विद्या का केंद्र ही कहते थे। बट व्हाट एवर वाज, इज देयर एनी रीजन व्हाई इट वाज इन दैट एरिया? Kumar Gupta might have taken the place in Patna itself.
To set up the Nalanda as a grand institution, there could be a possible reason that there were certain...
No possible. Don't give possible reason. If you have any evidence.
So we have, sir.
What is the earliest evidence for Nalanda? What is the earliest evidence
of Nalanda, sir? So archaeologically, the earliest structural remains has been discovered from the 3rd century BCE, from the time of Ashoka. However, when
from the time of Ashoka,
the earliest structural remains
time or any archaeological evidence.
So from the temple number 3, site number 3, temple number 3 from the monastic complex, the oldest remains that has been found from that site is from the 3rd century BCE.
What is found there?
So the brick remains at the lowermost level. There are 7 levels of expansion that has been...
C4 dating might have proved it as
yes, sir.
3rd century BC.
Yes, sir. However, philologically, it has not been established that Nalanda has been set up before 4th century CE. The multiple reasons are there. One is possibly that Fahian, when came in 4th century CE, he describes about all the things from around the area, but he misses the description of Nalanda. He describes about Nalagrama and other reasons, but those he describes just in reference to Sariputta, and he didn't found any big institution. If he could have found, he might have mentioned there. So by the time when Fahian came at this place in Nalanda, possibly there might be a small arama being established there, but it may have not.
And that has developed in a form of university.
Yes.
What is the meaning of Nalanda?
The giver of knowledge, the Nalanda, it is like the giver. It is symbolizes from the lotus, which which also symbolizes that knowledge is very pure, similar to like lotus on which the water it remains in water. Still, it never comes on that. So
no, I think it is. First thing is that the name of Nalanda, which we generally pronounce, or we are writing even, actually the name is Nalanda. It is the same way wrong pronunciation and wrong writing for whole of the world. As yoga, as Krishna. So Nalanda is nowhere. The correct word is Nalanda.
yes, sir.
And then you say, what is the meaning of Nalanda?
It comes from 3 suffix na, alam, da.
Na, alam.
Alam,
da. Yes. Then what is the meaning? This is just 5.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, so Nalam is lotus or equivalent to knowledge.
Nalam is lotus.
The symbol of knowledge.
Symbol of knowledge, and the is giving. Giving. So the one that gives knowledge.
Where it is mentioned?
Yes, sir.
Where it is mentioned? Nalam is lotus.
I found it in the book Hirananda Sastri, Epigraphic Materials of Nalanda.
No, which epigraph?
Hirananda Sastri book, the one who excavated.
नहीं, हिरानंद शास्त्री तो कोई वो नहीं, वो तो आपके जैसे हमारे जैसे अध्ययन करता है.
Yes.
which inscription that mentions this meaning?
Points.
I
Not only Nalanda word is mentioned in any inscription, what is the meaning is referred where?
I don't remember, but maybe is it Swenchang who describes about Nalanda very profoundly in his text?
No, we are mistaken. You go to the dictionaries like Vachaspatya, Shabdakalpadrim. These dictionaries will help you to find the correct notion of
Yes.
Nalanda.
Yes.
Whatever I remember, I have also not at present no reference for that. But I remember Nalanda is Na Alanda.
Yes. Sir.
Alanda, पूरा शब्द है. Alanda is darkness. Now, which negates the darkness. जो अंधकार को दूर करता है. और अंधकार को दूर करने वाली विद्या होती है. It is done by wisdom only.
Wisdom or knowledge.
The dark is divided. क्षीण करना जिसको कहते हैं, बोटी बोटी काटते ना. So this is the real meaning.
Yes.
अंधकार दूर, आँख खोलना. ना?
Yes.
Yes, continue please.
So I was looking upon the reasons why Nalanda was established in Bargaon and not at other places. This question came to my mind for the obvious reason that any institution to grow, sustain, and expand for several hundred of years.
Yes, this you have discussed.
Yes.
Next.
So I looked upon the geographical reasons. What could be possibly the geographical reasons apart from the religious reasons that may have been a reason for setting up Nalanda? So
Geographical limit. Geographical is not necessary to be discussed. Religious reason you discuss. Religious reason.
So religious reason.
थोड़ा बैक होइए, व्यू आपका कट के आ रहा है.
I did survey of the earlier works, and that relates that there was one time there was visit of Lord Buddha in the Pavarika Ambavana, and for Pavarika Ambavana is located somewhere in Nalanda. This is what has been referred to by most of the scholars. However, the exact geographical location of Pavarika Ambavana has not been so far established. Few scholars relates that this may have been somewhere near Silao or somewhere near Pawapuri. So there is one of this reason. The other group set of scholars calls that Nalanda was possibly established in Bargaon because this reason was the birthplace of and the nirvana place of Sariputta, the chief disciple of Lord Buddha. So these two reasons becomes the possible causes for the establishment of Nalanda.
In memory of some religious events.
There are some religious events.
Memory of some religious.
Then there is when Swenchang visits to this region, he calls Nalanda because in the nearby tank which was located in the region, in that tank there was a snake named Nagananda, and because of that reason, the name was given Nalanda. But Swenchang describes for most of the cities this kind of different mythologies. He always refers to for establishing the prominence of that city. I am looking beyond these religious causes. And I'm looking for the geographical causes, what could have been possible causes for setting up Nalanda. Because an institution also runs on resources and not because religious causes doesn't provide incentive of that kind to the ruler to set up.
I think the geographic portion we will leave it because that is not the part of our discussion. You see, in this global discussion, we are more interested in getting the original sources, the epigraphs.
Yes.
If there is any text which relates to your point, Geography, and it is one of the reasons it may discuss it may give probably fans to anything for this trade also, for military campaigns also, for so many things the geography helps. So geography is not a reason for developing an institution.
Yes, sir. It's not a reason, but it adds an advantage for setting up an institution.
तो उसको यहाँ क्या डिस्कस करने का एडवांटेज लो ना.
Yes.
So, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So next please.
ये इधर है ना आलमदा कभी न रुकने वाला ज्ञान का प्रवाह.
ये सब अपना अपना बना के लिखा जाता है, कोई रेफरेंस नहीं है.
कमल वाला भी है.
वो सब किसी का रेफरेंस नहीं है.
नहीं, हाँ, और ये बता रहे हैं कि ये कब हुआ, ये पता नहीं.
गूगल नो प्रेजेंटर. ओह, अच्छा. तो बड़ा ही सुंदर आज का ये सत्र रहा है. अरे आपका भी अभी है, बकाया है. हाँ, तो लेट अस इंक्लूड. सो sorry for intervention. There is one person who will be presenting his paper. Please listen him.
PPT नहीं है ना? No. Okay. Yeah.
अनम्यूट हो गया.
अनम्यूट हो गया.
Yes, sir.
बंद कर दिया तो उनको ऐसा नहीं है.
अज्ञानतिमिराजनस्य ज्ञानजनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः. I myself, Anupati Tiwari, visiting fellow Bharat Adhyan Kendra, Kashi Hindu Viswavidyalaya, want to presenting a paper in the field of comparative religion. My topic is the metaphysics of Srimad Bhagavad Gita and in early Buddhism. In early Buddhism means the resources and the issues discussed in Abhidhamma Pitaka. My purpose of presentation is to inquiry what is the meaning behind Buddha Abhyaktani, because many contemporary Western philosophers criticize the Buddha Abhyaktani that he have a little and fainted knowledge of metaphysics, so that Buddha does not declare any metaphysical doctrine, and the doctrine of Chadbhangavad, Pratitya Samudapad, these all things in lack of the exact confirmed knowledge of any metaphysics. I repeatedly use the word metaphysics so that I would like to explain what is the meaning of metaphysics. Exactly, the metaphysics is the world and issues deal in philosophy. Exactly, this is the Tattva Mimamsa, and Tattva Mimamsa. Tattva is something metamaterial. So that when we talking about metamaterial entity, thing and issues, there is a category in philosophy is called metaphysics. Generally, in metaphysics, we
Generally, the area of philosophy that deals with the nature of existence, truth, and knowledge about metamaterial. Recently, the very prominent Western philosopher Martin Heidegger, in his famous books An Introduction to Metaphysics, declared the definition of metaphysics. The metaphysics is a branch derived from the Greek word meta, means physica, after the things of nature, referring to an idea, doctrine, or posited reality outside of human sense perceptions. Means these things are beyond the human sense perception, and the dealing with this subject is called meta physics. And second American philosopher, the quotation of an American philosopher, Pierce, which is much nearest to Buddhist traditions and Buddhist thought. He declares about metaphysics that the whole metaphysics of the world divided in three sections. First, ontology, are called general metaphysics, and second is psychical religious metaphysics, and the third is physical metaphysics. Buddhist cosmology comes in second category. Buddhist cosmology means the description of the shape and evolution of universe according to Buddha Tripitaka. So it means that metaphysics is something semi-scientific, quasi-scientific declaration of human mind. Now I come to my purpose of paper. In this paper, we first examine briefly the criticism about Buddha Bhaktani and compare with that of the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, which is the core text of Vedic philosophy. The main purpose of my article is to explore philosophical insights embedded in the famous tradition of Buddhism and help the readers to gain the greater understanding and insight how to philosophical insights associate with each other tradition considering metaphysical thought. The outlook of Srimad Bhagavad Gita and early Buddhism is predominantly practical. They are trying to suggest practical ways and means to passing problems of life and attain the state of absolute perfection, which is called Nirvana and Param Shanti in Bhagavad Gita. The approach Srimad Bhagavad Gita. The approach of Bhagavad Gita. अब क्या डिफरेंस इन दोनों के बीच में है? तो the approach of Bhagavad Gita is mainly traditional metaphysical. It offers solution mostly on the basis of traditional metaphysical presuppositions, whereas the approach of early Buddhism is thoroughly empirical, with the traditional metaphysical speculation are brushed aside. A categorical answer to them is not to be found. ये जो डिक्लेरेशन है, ये हमारा पूर्व पक्ष है इस पेपर का. इट इज एस्टेब्लिश, ये थ्योरी अभी की क्या है कि अब तक के जो फिलोसोफर हैं उन्होंने एस्टेब्लिश किया है, बट मैं इसको इनकाउंटर करने जा रहा हूँ.
An interruption here.
Yes.
Because now you are beginning your basic things. So I put a question before you give your whatever you have prepared. My question is to define Srimad Bhagavad Gita and the literature of Buddha, not Buddhism literature. literature of Buddha. You decide
Yes.
which one was earlier, which one was later.
Yes, yes.
Then you could compare it,
Yes.
and then
Yes,
you proceed.
I have discussed these things in my paper. कुछ आगे क्या कि पूरी एक ट्रेडिशन है बौद्ध परंपरा की। बुद्ध ने क्या कहा, बुद्ध के वचनों को लेकर दो प्रकार की बातें हीनयान और महायान की आती है। तो हीनयानी जो हैं वो कहते हैं कि हमारी जो त्रिपिटक, हमने पहले कहा था कि अभिधम पिटक से हम लेंगे, उसमें जो कुछ भी कहा गया है वो रियल बुद्ध के वचन हैं, बुद्ध ने वही कहा। और महायानियों ने कहा कि उनके निहितार्थ जो हैं वो महायान सूत्रों में जाके फ्लोरिश होते हैं। क्योंकि इंटरप्रिटेशंस को लेकर जो प्रश्न सर खड़ा कर रहे हैं कि पहले तो आप ये क्लियर करिए कि आपके रिसोर्स क्या है। इसीलिए मैंने अर्लियर बुद्धिज्म ये लगाया कि ये प्रश्न जब तक सनातन धर्म की बात सर कह चुके हैं कि सनातनता में हम जाकर कहाँ रुकते हैं, तो हमने अर्लियर को लिया कि उससे हमारी ये कंसिडरेशन है, क्योंकि वेस्ट बहुत ज्यादा ये आगे जा चुका है। बहुत सारे स्कॉलर ये कह चुके हैं देयर इज नो नीड ऑफ मेटाफिजिकल कंसिडरेशन इन ह्यूमन लाइफ। ये हमारे लिए बहुत घातक है, क्योंकि जब हम श्रीमद् भगवत
Please keep quiet, because it is all going outside also in the universe, and we are not able to hear each other. Neither you are listening the paper. So listen the paper. You are sitting here, not just to give your presence, and if you like, you sit. Otherwise, you may leave the house and go and talk anywhere else. So please mind it. हाँ, आप.
तो
I think my question was clear to you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The traditional view of Buddha thought is that all Tripitaka is बुद्ध वचन, जो मैं कह चुका हूँ, और उसमें मूल धर्म संरक्षित है। अब अभिधर्म का रचना काल चतुर्थ ईसा शताब्दी से लेकर दूसरी शताब्दी तक मान लिया जाता है। तो मैं नियरेस्ट जा रहा हूँ कि बुद्ध वचन के हिस्टोरिकली नियरेस्ट क्या है। ऐसा धर्म सनातना, यह बात बुद्ध भी कह रहे हैं और यह बात मदन मनमालवी भी कह रहे हैं। तो उस सनातनता का बात आती है वर्बल टेस्टिमनी की। हमने अपने इस प्रेजेंटेशन में मेटाफिजिकल कंसिडरेशन के लिए जो टूल्स लिया, जो मीडियम लिया, वह शब्द प्रमाण को लिया। द टेक्स्ट ऑफ अर्ली बुद्धिज्म, द टेक्स्ट ऑफ द पॉपुलर होली एंड उपनिषदों का जो सार है भगवत गीता को लिया एक रिप्रेजेंटेटिव टेस्ट के लिए अपने आप में, कि उन दोनों ग्रंथों को हम कम से कम एक इंक्वायरी करके ये चीज कल आउट करें। क्यों? क्योंकि जिन ग्रंथों को लेकर ये बात इस ईयर डिवाइड शुरू किया गया कि देयर इज नो नीड ऑफ मेटाफिजिक्स एंड भगवत गीता इज द टेक्स्ट ऑफ मेटाफिजिक्स। Just 1 minute.
Just a minute. You are very right in choosing these two sections of writings. But what I questioned, which one you are taking first and which one you are taking after?
I am taking first Bhagavad Gita. I am taking first. And after that, because Bhagavad Gita, the text of Bhagavad Gita itself is the text, Gita of Bhagwan. भगवान, वह पुरुषोत्तम, वह श्री कृष्ण जो अक्षर ब्रह्म के प्रतीक के रूप में एक हिस्टोरिकल इवेंट के रूप में आ रहे हैं, हिस्टोरिकल मैन के रूप में आते हैं, और वह भारतीय काल गणना के क्रम में द्वापर में आते हैं और कलयुग में भगवान बुद्ध की उत्पत्ति होती है। तो इन दोनों के जी
ठीक है, मतलब ये एक्सप्लेनेशन देने की जरूरत नहीं है। आप केवल इतना ही बताइए कि हाँ, हम पहले भगवत गीता को ले रहे हैं और
भगवत गीता को पहले
ओके यू गो ऑन नाउ।
ओके, तो अब नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन ये है कि क्या वैदिक ट्रेडिशन में इस अव्यक्त अव्यक्तानी जैसे कोई कंसेप्ट पाई जाती है, तो उपनिषदों में भी उस परम तत्व के कहने की असमर्थता, मनुष्य के ह्यूमन माइंड की लिमिट की बातें कही गई। बुद्ध ने उसी को फिर से कहा, या बुद्ध ने यदि कोई नई बात भी कही है तो वहां हम उसका रिसिमलेंस देख रहे हैं, या हमारा एक कह लें कि पूर्व भूमिका है भगवत गीता तक आने की। तो यहाँ लेटर आए, जैसे पराज्ञान अपराज्ञान की बात उपनिषदों में है, वह बात अब कैसे हमारी दूसरी बात आती है कि औपनिषदिक ज्ञान भगवत गीता का पूरा नॉलेज ट्रेडिशन कैसे ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन ले रहा है बुद्ध के अपने टेक्स्ट में, उनकी अपनी सोच में, उनकी अपनी देशना में। तो वो ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन पकड़ने की बहुत जरूरत है कि बुद्ध ये कह रहे हैं कि देखिए देयर आर मिजरी इन ह्यूमन लाइफ, मनुष्य के जीवन में जो अपराज्ञान पराज्ञान का वहां विवेचन था, वहां ये उन्होंने वो कह रहे हैं कि मिजरी है और हैप्पीनेस तक हमको जाने के लिए इसके रूट कॉज को खोजना पड़ेगा। और रूट कॉज को वो जब डिक्लेयर करते हैं तो मेटाफिजिकली वो एक सिद्धांत दे रहे हैं कि देयर आर ऑलवेज मोमेंटरीनेस इन ऑल द स्फीयर्स, जिसको वो क्षणभंगवाद के रूप में कह रहे हैं। और ये बात हम वहां जब कह रहे थे कि टोटली मेटाफिजिकल डॉक्ट्रिन्स एम्पिरिकल है अर्ली बुद्धिज्म का और भगवत गीता का। मेटाफिजिकल इसका मतलब यह है कि जब भी हम साधना के क्रम में बढ़ते हैं तो हमें एक मोमेंटरीनेस की ही प्राप्ति होती है। और भगवान बुद्ध जब पहुंचते हैं निर्वाण की गति पर, और जिसको हम निर्वाण कहते हैं, कहते हैं कि सभी वासना बुझ जा रहा है परम शांति, उसी को भगवत गीता परम शांति के शब्द के रूप में कह रही है। और भगवत गीता और अर्ली बुद्धिज्म का सारा डिबेट राग द्वेष विनिर्मुक्तता के को लेकर है। और इन दोनों चीजों को लेकर हम जब आगे बढ़ते हैं तो देखते हैं कि भले ही हम इन दो ट्रेडिशन के रूप में देख रहे हों, लेकिन ये दोनों ह्यूमन माइंड को, हमारे अपने मस्तिष्क को, हमारे अपने जीवन को ये देखने की दृष्टि दे रहे हैं कि जैसे ही हम राग द्वेष यानी मेंटल हमारी जो मानसिक क्षमताएं हैं, उन क्षमताओं या उनका जो ओरिएंटेशन है, यानी उनका जो साइकिक काइनेटिक जो टेंडेंसीज है, उस पर हम ब्रेक लगाते हैं या उसको हम समझते हैं, तो हम एक ऐसी स्थिति पर जाकर पहुंचते हैं जहां पर हम शांति की अवस्था प्राप्त करते हैं, जहां हम अब जिस जीवन को जी रहे हैं इस जीवन से बड़े जीवन को प्राप्त करते हैं। और वहां से जो डेलिब्रेशन हमको प्राप्त हो रहे हैं, जो हमारे जीवन में जो अवतरण होता है जिन चीजों का, उससे हमारी अपनी व्यक्तिगत, सामाजिक, राजनीतिक, आध्यात्मिक सारी समस्याएं प्राप्त हो रही। ये मेरे पेपर का मूल कंसेप्ट है।
डॉक्टर साहब एक चीज मतलब विनम्रता के साथ
जी
कि हमको एक पेपर बहुत अच्छा
सर
देख रहे हैं थोड़ा सा।
जी
आपका परिचय कराना। Good morning to everyone once more. We have here Chairperson Professor Sushil Tiwari sir is honorable leader of this Bauddha Adhyan Kendra in this university, and he has to say something here, and I'd like to invite sir Professor Sushil sir.
जो चेयर करता है, क्षमा के साथ मैं देर में आया, इसके लिए सबसे क्षमा याचना करता हूँ। मुझे कुछ काम पड़ गया था और चेयर को प्रश्न पूछना नहीं चाहिए, लेकिन एक करेक्शन प्रश्न नहीं है। हाँ, प्रश्न नहीं है। डॉक्टर साहब ये बुद्ध ने कभी भी, डॉक्टर साहब सुन रहे हैं?
जी मैं सुन रहा हूँ सर।
बुद्ध ने कभी भी आनंद और सुख की बात नहीं किया है कहीं भी। बुद्ध ने केवल ये कहा कि दुख को हमें समझना है बस, क्योंकि जब दुख असुख की बात करेंगे तो उसके बहुत सारे रेमिफिकेशन आते हैं, जैसा कि आदमी फंसता चला जाता है। बस इतना हम कहना चाहते हैं कि बुद्ध ने कहीं भी सुख की, आनंद की बात ही नहीं की है, बस इतना है। बाकी हम इसमें रिप्लाई, इसको आप देख लीजिएगा।
बिल्कुल
इतना हमारा
बिल्कुल सही बात है सर कि सत्यचित आनंद में क्या हुआ?
अरे तिवारी जी आइए।
अरे अभी आपका तो चल रहा है, भागे कहाँ जा रहे हैं?
नहीं मैं जा
हो गया हमारा कुछ क्वेश्चन है।
नहीं सर वो बिल्कुल सही है, आपने हम जो कहा कि आनंद शब्द का प्रयोग उन्होंने नहीं किया है, ये मेरा मतलब
नहीं मैं भी आएगा
नहीं।
ये बताइए सर, ये जो कंपैरिजन सर आप कर रहे थे
जी,
थोड़ा सा इनका हो जाए दीजिए।
अभी तो हम आज पर्सनल अपना कर रहे थे।
अच्छा
जब तक ये ठीक कर रहे थे
ठीक
हो गया। सर को लीजिए, सर को लीजिए। सर प्लीज प्रोसीड।
हाँ
ठीक है
यार आ रहा है।
ठीक है सर। बोलिए।
ठीक।
पेपर हो गया सर?
नहीं एग्जाम हो गया सर।
हाँ
अब 10 पेपर हो गया।
हो गया।
हाँ
नहीं
नहीं
मैडम
काम
बताया कि हम अगले आए हम तो 11 के हिसाब से है, पता
अच्छा।
चला प्रोग्राम
हम
इसलिए
लोग 9
अरे सब आप ही लोग कर रहे हैं कि और कौन कर रहा है? हमें ना हमें कोई नहीं पता है। The thing is, sir, everything is arranged on behalf of the university. हाँ बताइए जो आप समझ गए हैं।
हाँ मैं समझ गया, वो बात ठीक है कि आनंद शब्द की बात भगवान बुद्ध के वचनों में नहीं प्राप्त होती। वो नेति नेति के द्वारा, मेरा निहितार्थ इतना था कि नेति नेति जो निगेशन के द्वारा, अपोह के द्वारा बुद्ध जिस स्टेट को पहुंच रहे हैं, क्योंकि अब हम इसीलिए ये मेटाफिजिकल कंसिडरेशन कर रहे हैं कि अर्ली बुद्धिज्म जब हम प्रारंभिक चीजों में देख रहे हैं तो बहुत ही आश्चर्यजनक रूप से पंच महाभूतों की जो संकल्पना है वैदिक ट्रेडिशन की, वो 4 महाभूत को ही एडमिट कर रहे हैं। ये बड़ा
ये तो दीगर बात हो गई ना। आप लोग ये बातें कह रहे हैं तो दीगर
ठीक है, बस हो गया।
हाँ
आगे बढ़ाइए।
एक चीज और हम उसमें पूछना चाहते थे सर, जिज्ञासा पूछना
हाँ
है।
आप
जब आप कंपैरेटिव स्टडी कर रहे थे तो इसमें कृष्ण का, कृष्ण का क्या भूमिका है सर? श्रीमद् भगवद गीता में और जब बुद्ध में हम कंपैरिजन करें तो कृष्ण कहाँ है?
जो श्रीमद् भगवद गीता ग्रंथ है वह भगवान श्री कृष्ण की गीत कही जाती है। महाभारत के कही जाने का क्या मतलब है कि महाभारत के शांति पर्व का 29वां अध्याय,
तो कृष्ण तो एक पात्र है ना, कृष्ण तो एक पात्र है।
कृष्ण एक पात्र नहीं है। कृष्ण जो भारतीय समय गणना है उसके अनुसार से द्वापर की वो एक व्यक्ति है, द्वापर काल के, और उस काल गणना के अनुसार
सर श्रीमद् भगवद गीता को द्वापर क्यों नहीं है?
क्यों नहीं है?
वो मेरा
व्यास को क्यों छोड़ देते हैं?
जैसे हम महाभारत की बात किए, जैसे महाभारत की बात की तो व्यास आ गए कि महाभारत व्यास ने लिखा। व्यास ने क्या लिखा? तो उसमें जो डायलॉग हो रही है वो तो 4 लोगों के बीच में हो रही है, धृतराष्ट्र और संजय और श्री कृष्ण और
मतलब है कि जितना पॉइंट ऑफ मेटाफिजिक्स जितना है वो व्यास का तो है ना, ये मानेंगे हम ना। जो
भगवत गीता मैं बता रहा हूँ सर, भगवत गीता को उपनिषदों का सार कह रहे हैं खुद व्यास ही कह रहे हैं।
जी जी।
तो हम तब रिफर करेंगे उपनिषदों को ना, और उपनिषदों को जब रिफर करेंगे तो वेद को रिफर करेंगे, क्योंकि उपनिषद भी वेद के सार हैं। वेद के सिद्धांत तो शिरोभाग उपनिषद हुए और उपनिषदों का सार भगवत गीता हुआ। और भगवत गीता को क्यों हमने लिया कि जब धम्मपद को क्यों नहीं लिया? प्रश्न ये बननी चाहिए थी कि हम भगवत धम्मपद को क्यों नहीं लिए,
रेलेवेंट है,
और क्यों हम अर्ली बुद्धिज्म के अभिधम पीठक को ले रहे हैं? धम्मपद भी तो गीत है इनका, और गीता की इक्विवेलेंट रखी गई है। तो हमने पहले ही ये कहा कि बुद्ध के जो नियरेस्ट सबसे जो ग्रंथ हैं उन ग्रंथों में हम ये देखना चाहते हैं कि यदि अनात्मवाद का सिद्धांत है और आत्मवाद का सिद्धांत, दोनों में बहुत बड़ा डिफरेंस है। भगवत गीता का पूरा थ्योरी है कि वो हमारे मानवीय जो भी समस्याएं हैं जीवन की, उनका वो समाधान आत्मविद्या से दे रहा है, आत्मवाद से दे रहा है, यानी आत्मविद्या से दे रहा है, और बुद्ध उसको अनात्म विद्या से दे रहे हैं। फिर भी इन दोनों को देने के बीच क्या कोई सिमिलरिटी है या ये दोनों दो ध्रुव है? तो हम देख रहे हैं कि दोनों जिस जगह पे पहुंच रहे हैं, ठीक है, उस ट्रैंक्विल जो वो परम शांति है उसको बुद्ध आनंद नहीं कह रहे हैं। उस शब्द को जो सर ने अभी एडमिट किया या करेक्ट किया वो बिल्कुल सही बात है कि वो वेदांत की जो बात,
अगर परमिशन हो तो डिस्कशन वैसे इनके डेवलपमेंट के लिए कोई हम अंतिम थोड़ी करें। देखिए, बुद्ध ने कहीं भी अनात्मवाद की बात, उल्टी बात कही। दार्शनिकों ने बुद्ध को बहुत गलत ढंग से,
मैं सर ये पहले कहा वहां शुरू में
बात कर, बुद्ध ने आत्मा का कहीं खंडन नहीं किया, ईश्वर का कहीं खंडन नहीं किया। अनात्मवाद को जो उसके ऊपर चस्पा किया गया, अनीश्वरवाद को जो चस्पा किया गया, मैं इससे इत्तेफाक नहीं करता। हाँ, बुद्ध ने किस आत्मा का खंडन किया इसको समझिए, ध्यान से सुन लीजिए, मैं कमेंट नहीं कर रहा हूँ, अब इसको अपने नहीं, हम उत्तर नहीं चाहते। हमने जो मैं विज्ञान का विद्यार्थी रहा हूँ, जो भी थोड़ा बहुत समझ पाया, मुझे दर्शन नहीं आती, फिलॉसफी में पढ़ा, और फिलॉसफी को मैंने अपने जीवन अनुभव से जितना जाना मैं उतना जानता हूँ कि बुद्ध जी किस आत्मा का खंडन करते हैं। आत्मा इस पेन के समान, इस कागज के समान, इस मोबाइल के, इस लैपटॉप के समान आत्मा नहीं है। आत्मा वस्तु, स्थिति और घटना के समान नहीं है। आत्मा जो बुद्ध ने जिस रूप में लिया है या भारतीय मनीषा में लिया गया है, वो आत्मा जो है एक चेतना का बृहत्तर रूप है। मैं ये मानता हूँ आत्मा वस्तु के समान नहीं। आप सोच लीजिए आपके कहीं आत्मा नहीं, और जितने, फिर विनम्रता के साथ कहता हूँ, जितने भी आत्मा को मानने वाले लोग हैं, मैंने देखा है कि व्यवहारिक जीवन में उसके अनुरूप उनका व्यवहार नहीं होता है। नंबर एक, बुद्ध ने ईश्वर का, वो कहते हैं, खंडन किया। किस ईश्वर का खंडन किया? जो ईश्वर को हमने एक मूर्ति के रूप में बैठा दिया है। बुद्ध ये कहते हैं कि ईश्वर तो हम ही में है। बुद्ध से बढ़कर, बुद्ध की एग्जिस्टेंस से बढ़कर ईश्वर का कोई प्रमाण हो सकता है? बुद्ध तो जीते जागते ईश्वर के प्रमाण हैं कि ईश्वर भी हो सकते हैं। जैसे आपको याद होगा रामकृष्ण परमहंस के पास एक सज्जन गए और उनसे तर्क करने लगे। कौन थे कि कौन, नाम इस समय मिस कर रहे हैं, कि हम नहीं मानते कि ईश्वर है कि नहीं है। तर्क करने लगे, तर्क दिया कि ईश्वर अस्तित्व को खंडन करने। रामकृष्ण कहा जाता है कि उठकर नृत्य करने लगे कि इससे बढ़ के ईश्वर का प्रमाण क्या हो सकता है कि इतनी बड़ी मेधा और चेतना तुम्हारे अंदर है। अब आप कल्पना करिए, मैं तो इस रूप में लेता हूँ। देखिए, बुद्ध ने कहीं भी, जैसे आपने हमारे कैसे कुछ समेटना है क्या?
अब हो रहा है, अब ये जो है ये
हाँ, वही हम समेट एक तरह से। जैसे आपने, बुद्ध ने कहा एस धम्मो सनातनो, यहाँ पर जिस सनातन की बात बुद्ध करते हैं, जरा कल्पना करिए कि वो सनातन धर्म, सनातन का मतलब एटर्नल। अब आप समझ लीजिए कि कोई भी एटर्नल सत्ता के बगैर आप इंपिरिकल रियलिटी की कल्पना कर ही नहीं सकते। जैसे अगर हमारी चेतना, हम 68 साल के हैं, हम बचपन से लेकर आज तक हमारी चेतना में अगर स्थिरता नहीं होती तो हम कोई परसेप्शन नहीं कर सकते थे, अनुभविक परसेप्शन नहीं हो सकता है। सारी दर्शन की समस्या ये है कि जो एब्सोल्यूट है, जो सनातन है, वो कैसे अनुस्यूत होता है इस अनुभविक जगत। तो एक चीज जान लीजिए, आप सारे धर्मों का जो डायलेक्टिक है वो यही है कि हम जो स्टैटिक रियलिटी है उसको हम डायनामिक रियलिटी में कैसे समझेंगे। बुद्ध ने इसका बहुत अच्छा एग्जाम्पल दिया अपने उसके द्वारा, कि बुद्ध ने कभी भी ये नहीं कहा कि मैं कोई तत्व मीमांसा दे रहा हूँ। उन्होंने कहा तत्व मीमांसा की आवश्यकता ही नहीं। असली आवश्यकता इस बात की है कि जो मनुष्य रुग्ण है, दुखी है, उसको हम एनालाइज करें। और इसके लिए उन्होंने सीधे साइंस के पैटर्न पर कहा, रियलिटी तथ्य कहा, दुख है, साइंस की तरह से दुख का कारण है, कारण का निदान है, लेकिन निदान इफ्सो फैक्टो नहीं होगा। निदान के लिए हमें एक मार्ग चुनना होगा, अष्टांगिक मार्ग की बात किया। तो अब आप इसमें इसके पीछे कल्पना कर देखिए कि जो प्रतीत समुत्पाद है वो है क्या, कि अगर हम दुखी हैं तो दुखी के लिए डॉक्टर साहब आप कारण नहीं है, आप कारण नहीं है, दुख का कारण मैं स्वयं होगा, हमारी अपेक्षाएं होती हैं, हमारी इच्छाएं होती हैं, ये दुख का कारण होता है। अगर आप इसको एनालाइज कर ले तो बहुत अच्छा रहेगा किसी के व्यक्तिगत जीवन के लिए। जैसे बुद्ध ने कहा कि कोई व्यक्ति को तीर लगा है, अब कोई जाए उसके पास पूछे कि हम तुम्हारा तीर निकाल के दवा कराना चाहते हैं, तो पहले कहे नहीं, पहले बताओ तीर किसने मारा, किस मेटल का बना था, क्यों मारा गया, तब तक तो मर जाएगा। हमें इमीडिएट देखना है कि ये जो पूरी आपकी ह्यूमन एग्जिस्टेंस है ये एक तरह से ट्रॉमा में है, इस ट्रॉमा का कारण क्या है। और अगर आप देखेंगे इस ट्रॉमा के पीछे कहीं ना कहीं हमारा स्वयं का कारण होता है, दूसरा कोई हमको दुखी नहीं करता है। आपको याद होगा, और सारी समस्या डॉक्टर साहब, मैं विनम्रता के साथ आपसे भी, आप बुजुर्ग हैं, कि मैं कहना डॉक्टर साहब से भी कि मैं ये मानता हूं कि असली कारण कहाँ है। असली कारण हमने स्वयं को नहीं जाना, हम अपने से परिचित ही नहीं है और हम दुनिया का भला करना चाहते हैं। बुद्ध के पास एक व्यक्ति आया, उसने कहा कि मैं बहुत दुखी हूँ, जनता परेशान है, मैं दुख दूर करना चाहता हूँ। आप पढ़िए अट कथाओं में बुद्ध के आंख से आंसू आ रहे। आनंद ने पूछा कि क्यों आंसू आ रहे हैं, उन्होंने कहा कि जिस व्यक्ति को अपना ही नहीं पता है वो दुख दूर करना चाहता है। इसको कल्पना करिए। वो अच्छा, और सबसे बड़ी जो स्टैटिक रियलिटी और उसकी बात मैंने किया, इसी के साथ अक्सर बुद्धिस्ट लोगों में ये प्रॉब्लम होती है कि क्षणभंगवाद के साथ पुनर्जन्म को हम कैसे जस्टिफाई करें। इसी के साथ जस्टिफाई होता है कि क्षणभंगवाद एक मेटाफिजिकल सिद्धांत नहीं है, वो एनालिसिस का सिद्धांत है सिंपली। और आपको याद होगा कि बुद्ध के पास एक व्यक्ति आया, वो बुद्ध हो चुके थे, 500 शिष्यों के साथ एक गांव में प्रवचन दे रहे थे महीने से। वो आया बुद्ध के पास, उसने थूक दिया बुद्ध के ऊपर, बहुत बड़ी बात है। और बुद्ध ने, बस हम समेट रहे हैं, खत्म कर रहे हैं, बुद्ध के ऊपर थूक दिया। बुद्ध ने अपना कपड़ा उठाया, मुंह पोंछ लिया। सारे क्षत्रिय उनके शिष्य थे, वो क्रोधित हो गए। बुद्ध ने कहा उसके थूकने से मैं क्रोधित नहीं, आप मुझे दुख नहीं हुआ, लेकिन तुम जो कर रहे हो उससे मैं दुखी हुआ। तो लोगों ने पूछा आखिर क्यों? तो आनंद ने उनसे कहा कि आनंद, तुम जानते हो कि मैं किसी भी गांव में 3 दिन से ज्यादा प्रवचन नहीं करता था। मैं आज यहाँ क्यों प्रवचन कर रहा हूँ? मैं इस व्यक्ति का इंतजार कर रहा था कि 5 जन्म पहले, 6 जन्म पहले, जब मैं एक अज्ञानी व्यक्ति था, ये एक खरगोश था, मैंने इसके ऊपर थूका था। ये जो कर्म का जो डायनेमिक्स है, इसको खत्म होना चाहिए। और बैंकिंग में आप जानते हैं कि हर दिन बैंक बंद करने के पहले ट्रायल बैलेंस होता है, क्रेडिट और डेबिट को बराबर किया जाता है। तो हमको बिल्कुल विनम्रता के साथ मैं ये कहता हूँ, मैं दर्शन नहीं जानता, ठीक है, मैंने दर्शन में एमए किया, पीएचडी किया, लेकिन दर्शन की उस तरह से ट्रेडिशनल मुझे समझ नहीं है। मैं विज्ञान के रूप में समझने का प्रयास किया कि हम अपनी चेतना को इतना बृहत्तर करते जाएं, इतना बृहत्तर करते जाएं कि यह पेन भी लगे कि मेरा ही रूप है, ये लैपटॉप भी लगे कि ये मेरा ही स्वरूप है, ये जमीन भी मुझे लगे, तब मैं किसी के साथ हिंसा कर ही नहीं सकता। क्या मैं अपने एक हाथ के साथ हिंसा कर सकता हूँ? अगर मैं समझता हूँ कि आप मेरे ही एक्सटेंशन है, तो मैं कैसे आपको दुखी कर सकता हूँ? सीधे सा प्रश्न मेरा यही रहता है। और चेतन, और जब तक, और जान लीजिए असली चीज ये है, सागर ही लहरों के रूप में लहराता है, लहरों का कोई स्वतंत्र अस्तित्व नहीं होता। तो बुद्ध ने उसी सागर की तरफ इशारा किया। पेपर बहुत अच्छा है, जिन लोगों ने, हमने सबका नहीं सुना, डॉक्टर साहब ने सुना होगा, जिन लोगों ने, चूंकि
मेरे हिसाब से तो आपका,
हाँ, बहुत शानदार पेपर है आपका भी, और बहुत क्रिटिकल है। मुझे दुख है कि मैं नहीं सुन पाया। इसके साथ मैं अध्यक्ष के रूप,
इस पर तो बड़ी बहस हो सकती है। हाँ। प्रवृत्ति मार्ग और निवृत्ति मार्ग, ये दोनों का संदेश, और ये पेपर बहुत सारे प्रश्नों को उठा भी रहा है।
एक बात मैं इसमें कहना चाहूंगा, अभी हम लोग कितना कुछ डिस्कशन किए, बौद्ध धर्म को बताना और बौद्ध दर्शन को बताना एक अलग बात है। रिसर्च के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से जो इन्होंने विषय लिया है वो भगवद गीता
नहीं, वो हम समझ रहे हैं सर, मैंने
नहीं,
हाँ,
तो हम लोग को
बस खत्म, वोट ऑफ थैंक्स कर, हाँ, वोट ऑफ थैंक्स कर दी।
चलो भाई,
थैंक यू वेरी मच for vote of thanks. I would like to invite here Assistant Professor of this University, Dr. Amit Sahni sir, please.
मोहित जी,
हाँ
Yeah. कर दिए।
I deem it a great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks on this memorable session. Let me first of all start by giving glory to the Almighty God, and we are very thankful to the chair and to the speakers of this session. Thank you very much, and my sincere regards to the speakers.
Thank you very much to everyone. Have a good day.
Hari.